Hi, I'm Jen from That Mama Book Nook, and welcome back to my channel. Happy late summer, everyone. I know some people are getting into the fall mode. I will get there eventually, but right now I am clinging on to summer, and it definitely still feels like summer. Summer is my favorite season. I love the weather. I live in a part of the United States that is darker and colder for a good chunk of the year, so the summer temperatures in my area are perfect for me. I also just love the slower pace. I don't have as many kids activities that I am rushing off to, and I enjoy spending the time when I can outside. So in case you are still in that summer mode, I wanted to share some summer books today. I shared a lot of my summer favorites last year, which I will link, but today I decided to share some summer books that are just on my eventual TBR. And what better way to find out what books that I haven't read yet take place in summer than books literally with summer in the title. I was actually pretty shocked to find out that I had over 25 books on my entire TBR that had summer in the title. I feel like that's a pretty good amount. I'm not going to go through all of those books today, but I did pick 10 that were really calling to me for one reason or another. Wanted a good variety of genres, books that seemed interesting, and books that I haven't really talked about super recently. Looking at You, One Golden Summer, These Summer Storms, Every Summer After, Problematic Summer Romance. I have talked about all of those on previous TBR videos for this year, so I'm not going to touch on those, but I have plenty of other ones to talk about. And the first four or so authors that I have on here actually have multiple books with summer in the title, so clearly summer is a favorite time of year for them as well. First up, I have Carly Fortune with This Summer Will Be Different. She is also the author of One Golden Summer and Every Summer After. So this is about Lucy, who is the tourist vacationing at a beach house on Prince Edward Island, and Felix, who is the local who shows her a very good time. The only problem is Lucy doesn't know that Felix is her best friend's younger brother. Lucy and Felix's chemistry is unreal, but the list of reasons why they need to stay away from each other is long, and they vow to never repeat that electric night. It's easier said than done. Each year, Lucy escapes to Prince Edward Island for a breath of that coastal fresh air, fresh oysters, and crisp vino verde with her best friend Bridget. Every visit begins with a long walk on the beach beneath soaring red cliffs and a golden sun. And every visit, Lucy promises she won't end up in Felix's bed again. If Lucy can't help being drawn to Felix, at least she's kept her heart out of it. When Bridget suddenly flees Toronto a week before her wedding, Lucy drops everything to follow her to the island. Her mission is to help Bridget through her crisis and resist the one man she's never been able to. But Felix's sparkly eyes and flirty quips have been replaced with something new, and Lucy's beginning to wonder just how safe her heart truly is. Then Annabelle Monaghan's new release is Summer Romance, but she also wrote Same Time Next Summer. Allie Morris is a professional organizer whose own life is a mess. Her own mom died 2 years ago, then her husband left, and she has not worn pants with a zipper in longer than she cares to remember. No one is more surprised than Allie when the first time she takes off her wedding ring and puts on pants with hardware. Overalls with buttons count, right? She meets someone, or rather her dog claims a man for her by peeing on him. Ethan smiles at Allie like her pants are just right, like he likes what he sees. He looks at her like she's a younger, braver version of herself. The last thing newly single mom Allie needs is to make her life messier. But there's no harm in a little summer romance, is there? Then I have a brand new historical fiction that came out on July 1st, and that is Our Last Vineyard Summer by Brooke Lee Foster, who also wrote All the Summers in Between and Summer Darlings. This takes place during a dual timeline between 1965 and 1978. After suffering through her first year of grad school at Columbia after her senator father's death, Betsy Whiting is hoping to spend the summer with her boyfriend and hopefully end the summer as his fiance. Instead, her mother, a longtime feminist and leader in the women's rights movement, calls Betsy and her sisters home to Martha's Vineyard, announcing that they need to sell their beloved summer home to pay off their father's debts. When Betsy arrives on the island a week later, she must reckon with her strained familial relationships, a long ago forbidden romance, and the complicated legacy of her parents, who divided the family even as they did good for the world. And of course, the Queen of Summer, Ellen Hildebrand, wrote 28 Summers, which is the one I'm going to talk about today, but also Summer of '69, A Summer Affair, Summerland, Summer People, Endless Summer, not sure if I'm forgetting a few, and even if her books don't have summer in the title, many of them take place during the summer, a lot of them on Nantucket Island. So anyway, 28 Summers, when Mallory Blessing's son Link gets deathbed instructions from his mother to call a number on a slip of paper that is in his desk drawer, he's not sure what to expect, but he certainly doesn't expect Jake McLeod to answer. It's the late spring of 2020, and Jake's wife, Ursula de Guernsey, is the frontrunner in the presidential election. There must be a mistake, Link thinks. How do Mallory and Jake know each other? Flashback to the sweet summer of 1993. Mallory has just inherited a beachfront cottage on Nantucket from her aunt, and she agrees to host her brother's bachelor party. Cooper's friend from college, Jake McLeod, attends, and Jake and Mallory form a bond that will persevere through marriage, children, and Ursula's stratospheric political rise until Mallory learns she's dying. The rest of the authors that I'm going to talk about, I believe, just have one summer book, but still just as fun and just as immaculate vibes. Till Summer Do Us Part is Megan Quinn's newest release. I believe this one came out in early June. Scotty Price just started a new job, and it's a real sausage fest. She's the only woman on a team filled with Brads and Chads. Expecting a bachelor pad atmosphere, she mentions her non-existent husband in a company meeting. But eagle-eyed Chad points out her lack of a wedding ring. Panicked, Scotty creates this story about her unhappy marriage. Unfortunately for Scotty, her boss has a solution. A one-on-one marriage counseling session with the best marriage counselor in the Northeast, who happens to be her boss's husband. With no way out of her lie, Scotty agrees to see him. Frantic, she calls in help from her best friend, who sets her up with his brother, an improv-obsessed millionaire. Enter Wilder Wells. More than happy to take on the job, he teaches Scotty the rule of always say yes. But the rule backfires during the session when Wilder signs them up for an 8-day summer marriage camp with all of Scotty's coworkers, where she'll have to share a cabin with her way too handsome fake husband. Can't wait to read that one. Then Summer Island by Kristen Hanna. I talk about Kristen Hanna a lot. She is a favorite of mine. I have not read this one yet. Years ago, Nora Bridge walked out on her marriage and left her daughters behind. She has since become a celebrity radio talk show host and newspaper columnist beloved for her moral advice. Her younger daughter, Ruby, is a struggling comedian who uses her famous mother as fuel for her bitter, cynical humor. When the tabloids unearth a scandal in Nora's past, her career implodes and Ruby gets a big break. She is offered a fortune to write an unflattering tell-all about her mother. Under false pretenses, Ruby returns home to talk to the woman she hasn't spoken to in almost a decade. Home to the house on Summer Island, where Ruby grew up, a place filled with childhood memories of love and joy and belonging. There, as Ruby is reunited with old friends, what began as an expose evolves into an exploration of her family's troubled past. In picking apart her mother's life, Ruby has no choice but to examine her own. As the magazine deadline draws near, and Ruby finishes the story that has begun to feel like an act of brutal betrayal, she is forced to make a choice. But not about the past, but about the future. The truth is not as simple as she'd once imagined. The Summer We Ran by Audrey Ingram. In the summer of 1996, teenage Tess Murphy's mom gave her 2 rules to abide to keep quiet and stay out of trouble. Her mother landed a new job as a cook at an affluent affluent Virginia estate and didn't want anything to risk the opportunity, least of all her outspoken daughter. What no one saw coming was Tess falling deeply in love with the boy next door, high society Grant Alexander. Over a few wondrous and heat-filled months, Tess and Grant's love blooms so ferociously, it feels utterly impossible that anything can keep them apart. Until tragedy strikes, and the teenagers find themselves pained by betrayal with little hope to repair the damage that's been done. Now, 2 decades after their epic teenage romance abruptly ended in heartbreak, Tess and Grant are both running for governor of Virginia, where secrets from that summer threaten to shatter their families' futures and the love they once shared. One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle has been on my TBR forever. When Katie's mother dies, she is left reeling. Carol wasn't just Katie's mom, she was her best friend and first phone call. She had all the answers, and now when Katie needs her the most, she is gone. To make matters worse, the planned mother-daughter trip of a lifetime looms. 2 weeks in Positano, the magical town Carol spent the summer right before she met Katie's father. Carol has been waiting years for Katie to take her, and now she is faced on embarking on the adventure alone. But as soon as she steps foot on the Amalfi Coast, Katie begins to feel her mother's spirit. Buoyed by the stunning waters, beautiful cliffside, delightful residents, and of course delectable food, Katie feels herself coming back to life. And then Carol appears in the flesh, healthy, suntanned, and 30 years old. Katie doesn't understand what is happening or how. All that she can focus on is that she somehow, impossibly, has gotten her mother back. Over the course of One Italian Summer, Katie gets to know Carol, not as her mother, but as the young woman before her. She is not exactly who Katie imagined she might be, and soon Katie must reconcile the mother who knew everything with the young woman who does not yet have a clue. Then It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. Piper Bellinger is fashionable, influential, and her reputation as a wild child means the paparazzi are constantly on her heels. When too much champagne and an out-of-control rooftop party lands Piper in the slammer, her stepfather decides enough is enough. So he cuts her off and sends Piper and her sister to learn some responsibility, running their late father's dive bar in Washington. Piper hasn't even been in Westport for 5 minutes when she meets big bearded sea captain Brendan, who thinks she won't last a week outside of Beverly Hills. So what if Piper can't do math, and the idea of sleeping in a shabby apartment with bunk beds gives her hives? How bad could it really be? She's determined to show her stepfather and the hot grumpy local that she's more than a pretty face. Except it's a small town, and everywhere she turns, she bumps into Brendan. The fun-loving socialite and the gruff fisherman are polar opposites, but there's an undeniable attraction simmering between them. Piper doesn't want any distractions, especially for a man who sails off into the sunset for weeks at a time. Yet, as she reconnects with her past and begins to feel at home in Westport, Piper starts to wonder if the cold, glamorous life she knew is what she truly wants. LA is calling her name, but Brendan and this town full of memories may have already caught her heart. And for my last rec, I had to kind of throw a curveball in there with a YA horror with The Summer I Ate the Rich by Micah and Maritza Mori. Brielle Pettifor loves to cook, but with a chronically ill mother and bills to pay, becoming a chef isn't exactly the most realistic career path. When Brielle's mom suddenly loses her job, Brielle steps in and uses her culinary skills to earn some extra money. The rich families who love her cooking praise her for using unique flavors and textures, which keeps everyone guessing what's in Brielle's dishes. The secret ingredient? Human flesh. So there you go. Some contemporary romances, historical fiction, literary fiction, and even a horror. Some heavy hitters, lots of grief definitely in some of these, but also some lighter, fun ones too. Who knew summer could bring such a diverse reading experience? Let me know in the comments what you've read this summer, or if you're willing to take a challenge, let me know how many books on your TBR have the word summer in the title, because as I said at the beginning of the video, I was really surprised that there was that many. So I would be curious if it was just me, or if some people have more, maybe mine's low, who knows? I'd love to know. But as always, if you are not feeling super chatty, that's okay too, and you just want to let me know you were here, go ahead and leave me a sunshine emoji for summer, and I will see you on my next video. Bye!